This episode of the Playden is a horror game and is suitable for mature adults only. It contains themes of body horror, war, colonialism, racism, gore, and death. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Playpen Podcast. I'm Jack Squarepeg.
And I'm Denmother.
And with us, we have a couple of special guests here today. We have Turquoise Vixen, who is a regular player on the channel. Welcome. And we have Titus, who is our author, who is running a particular game for us today called One of Us Will Die. Now, a bit of context for the audience. We have actually already set up some stuff for this particular game. So, Titus, if you could describe your game for us. What inspired you to make this game, the inspirations behind it, the story behind it, and what the game's all about. And if you can then tell the audience what we got up to last time and the story we're about to walk into, that would be grand. So take it away.
So, One of Us Will Die is a tabletop social deduction role-playing game. It's for 4 to 6 players, Game Master included. From the start of the game, one player will be aware that their character is going to die, and everyone else has to figure out which one it is. So, basically, the game was very much inspired by red flag kind of tropes in movies and anime. A lot of it from my own experience. It's really just, you know how when you're watching something like Game of Thrones or Attack on Titan and you and your friends are kind of just taking bets over who dies and looking at little story clues. In a way, watching movies and TV shows feels like you're playing a social deduction game. So I made a social deduction game out of it. Last week, when we had our session 0, we rolled for our characters and we got introduced to our scenario. As requested by the players, we have Wrath of the Tikbalang. It starts with a quote, "Justice is the foremost virtue of the civilizing races. It subdues the barbarous nations, while injustice arouses the weakest." Quote is attributed to Dr. Jose Rizal, who is the national hero of the Philippines, and a massive literature nerd, which is why it's dedicated to him. This is the story. Investigators from the big city are called to a small rural town to look into a series of mysterious killings. The locals are claiming that a folk legend may explain the killings. Is this the work of a sick, twisted mind, or is there a darker, more supernatural force at play? Look for clues, confront the killer, and as always, one of you will die. So we set the scenario up. I asked a few world-building questions. Got some very, very good answers. I asked them what year the story was taking place, and we got 1883. Apparently, that was just a shot in the dark by Vixen. And apparently, she knew what the height of the Philippine Revolution was and what a perfect place for a murder mystery would be. Instinctually. Might have been a Filipino in the past life, or probably a colonizer. You never know. I promise it's not because you're white. So I also asked them who sent them to investigate, and they decided, I think this was Denma's idea.
I want to be clear about that. Yeah.
Yes, it was Denma's idea. They are being sent by a Spanish Inquisition-like entity in order to investigate these strange beliefs, because any belief in the old beliefs apart from Christianity is something that the Spanish want to stamp out. So this is going to have some religious themes.
We've heard about some murders happening in the area, correct?
Yes, some murders.
Yeah. Okay.
And then Jack named the town. Do you remember what you named the town?
I do. I called it San Daniel, which is why this episode is going to be called In the Mouth of the Lion.
Yeah. Love that.
That's great. That is actually pretty freaking great. This mystery uses a system very similar to the Between and Brindlewood Bay. So, first question, are the killings supernatural in nature? You gotta answer that first. Second, why are these killings happening and who is responsible? 3, how can the killer be stopped?
Which we answer
during
play.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
So, we use a 3-act system. And in the second act, you can answer a question. The more clues you include in that question, the more likely it'll be that your answer will be correct. If you get a successful mind roll for answering the question, your answer becomes correct. Basically, even if it's a ridiculous answer, it's true. Okay, so moving on, let's introduce our characters. Let's start with Denma, since she's played this game before and she knows how to introduce a character. First, say your character's archetype talk about their backstory, and then tell us what they're good at, then give us their name.
Awesome. I am Denmother, and I am playing the Sinner. I'll read the little blurb that's on the sheet, which is really cool. He's just generally, I think I'm choosing to be a local who was recently converted to the Jesuits, which is the Soldiers of Jesus. We know our Catholicism, and so it's like I'm of the Soldiers of Jesus. He would be going back to his hometown, and I'm using, given the history fact we had, he may or may not be, tied to certain deaths of local priests. May or may not. So yeah, he's really good at comforting people, so bringing a sense of comfort. He's good at hiding, and he's also good at religious rituals, catechisms, saying prayers. And his name is Crisanto del Rosario. He took on a Spanish name, not his original name, but that's what he took. So Crisanto.
Literally, Holy Christ of the Rosary.
I know.
God damn.
That's just not,
Okay. Jack, who are you playing?
I am playing Mateo. Mateo is a soldier. He is good at shooting, scouting, and carousing, aka getting drunk and holding your own water, so to speak. He has got close cropped hair and no discernible parting in his eyebrows, just one long wave. He's got darker kind of complexion, and he has a rifle slung over his back, which would be 1883. It would probably be like some sort of flintlock or something like that. So he is keeping an eye out. Where are we as this is taking place? Are we coming into the town? Or...
Yeah, you're coming into the town.
All right. So as we kind of making our way to the gates or the border, he is keeping an eye out for windows in particular, just anything that might be perching. So that's what he's doing.
Okay. Vixen, who are you playing?
I'm Veronica, also known as Turquoise Vixen, and I'm playing Garcia, who is the lover archetype. I am Mateo's twin.
Dun, dun, dun.
I really look up to Mateo, because I feel like we've been through a lot together. I made us like matching fabric bracelets, sort of like typical friendship bracelets, but cooler, And
Friendship bracelets are cool.
Yes, they are. It seems to be a reoccurring theme with me. And she often remembers having a really, really rough day years ago, but doesn't really remember what happened to make it rough, but knows that after all that, her and Mateo spent time cooking together, and that is how she remembers that day.
Okay. So the three of you are in this strange dreamlike state. As you sit around the table, there is a manghuhula sitting across from you. A manghuhula is a Filipina shaman or an oracle that can tell the future. She informs the three of you that one of you is cursed for death and that one of you does not have much time to live. She also says that one of you may one day betray the circle that you have. The three of you have been through a lot. You've been through war, you've been through battle, you've been through injuries and hardship. Let's just say your friendship, at least as you know it, will be finished by the end of the week. This is what she looks like.
That is worth noting for those who are listening. If you want to show it off one more time, please, Titus. Ooh. Ah. Looks amazing. So, yes, this is now available in print.
In a couple of weeks, but
Yay.
in the Philippines.
Well,
I'll find
by
some
the time
way
this
to...
releases, it may well be available in the
That's
link
true.
below.
I
Yeah.
will find some way to ship this overseas.
That sounds amazing.
This is
If,
still the light
if there's-
version. It's the one you
yeah.
can get on itch.
Can my version be signed?
I'll find a way.
We'll make it happen. Yep, we'll sort something out.
Teleport.
Absolutely. But we're very proud of you, and we're very excited to play. So amazing. So we're with this oracle woman, and
Yes.
I guess Mateo's just gonna blink and look over at his sister and go, "Why are we here? How did we get here?"
Everyone roll a d6.
Yes.
By the way, that was the first time live I have ever explained the context behind the cover photo.
Yay!
you
It's
go.
a manghuhula. Oh my god, that's beautiful.
It's a
Lord,
manghuhula.
Love that. Do we say the results out loud?
Yes, please.
3, for Mateo.
3 for Crescendo.
4 for Garcia.
I need Crisanto and Mateo to roll again.
6.
I rolled a 1.
Okay.
Now, what's happening for those who are listening and watching, Titus, feel free to clarify at any point. We are going to be given our hidden information in terms of who and what we are and what our goals are. Is that correct, Titus?
That is correct.
Am I on the right
So-
page? Amazing.
Yep, so what's happening is you are rolling for your secret roles. It's not a social deduction game without secret roles. One of you is going to be the mark, which means it is going to be your responsibility to lead your character towards your ultimate destiny, which is death. Happens to everyone. And in this scenario, it's you. If you are the adventurer or the traitor, however, you are going to be looking for the mark. Watch out for the death flags. Try to see which of the players seems to be looking most like they're gonna do a George R.R. Martin tonight. And if you are the traitor, you kill the mark and steal their thunder. If you are the adventurer, you steal their thunder by dying in their place. So basically, the object of the game is to basically write your character's death. Unless you're the traitor, you write somebody else's death, which is a different kind of fun, I think.
Amazing.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna DM you each of your stuff now.
Can everyone just say DM and I'll put it together?
DM.
And welcome back. So now that we have our roles, what we're going to do is very hurriedly act like we know what we're doing. Denma is going to be a little bit more convincing at that because she's played before. We're going to look at the information that Titus has for all of the roles, of which we could be any of them. So we're just keeping an eye out and we're seeing what happens. The important thing I think would be good for the audience to know at this stage. You mentioned 3 acts. So we're in Act 1 now. Will it be clear when we move from Act 1 to Act 2 to Act 3?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
Because
Amazing.
that'll determine how many milestones you can reach. I'll guide you through the whole thing. I'm just going to bring up that all your characters, all of you have a reason to die, all of you have a reason to kill, and all of you have a reason to fight. So part of the game is figuring out what that is for your character. If you're the mark, what will my character die for? Or if you're sadistic, what is my character going to die of? You begin on a cart. You are on the cart, and the cart is moving up a mountain, up a winding, zigzagging road as you move up. It's quite a narrow pass. You can tell that not many people move up this path because you know how a path is not very well used, so it's incredibly rough. A lot of the time, you can tell that horse-drawn carriages don't really go up this sort of slope. The person driving your cart turns to the rest of you. You've learned that his name is Hector. Actually, Mang Hector. It's a kind of... I don't know how to describe it, but he's called Mang Hector. But
It's a
Hector is his
title.
first name. It's a title, yes. It's like Kuya, which is like Big Brother. He turns to the 3 of you. You haven't told him why the cart was commissioned. But he turns and he says, "So, what business do you have in San Daniel? People don't often travel here if they're not already from here."
I would actually glance over at Mateo and I look back at Hector. This is a commissioned person in a sense that are they tied to the church or this is external third party? Because it would
The
be
mayor
depend-
sent him to pick you up.
Oh, I guess in a sense, Crisanto would give like a polite smile and goes, the church would like to send some assistance. I heard there were troubles over at San Daniel. We wanted to see how the people were, so we are here to give some comfort in trying times. I believe some people have died, and we would like to give them their rights, read
Oh.
over their prayers.
"Oh, are you here because of Jill?" he says. I'm talking to the 3 of you. Neither of you have heard the name Jill.
No, I'm afraid not. But we heard there were many villagers that have died in this town, so we are here to offer prayers
Yes.
and rights.
It's good that you came. It's good that you came to offer them your prayers. You know, we were worried that they wouldn't send everyone from home and these people would end up going to hell.
That is
But
why
Mateo, while this is going on, is just he's got a slightly furrowed brow. he's got this image in his head of the, I'm going to butcher the word, so I'm just going to say priestess that is on the cover that you can probably pick up right now at the link. Ooh. Just this image of this woman in a dream he can't quite remember. Just staring out as the landscape becomes more and more vertical. And he, by the time that he sees Chrysanto's glance that was aforementioned, he catches himself with his hands as he realizes that he's basically like almost going to fall out if he doesn't grab onto the edges. And he just goes, Yes. Rites. Burial rites, yes.
Yes.
Well, you can definitely do Jill's burial rites. Padre Dizon already took care of the rest. Denma, your character, I would not know who Padre Dizon is. But,
No.
by the way, is your character a priest? You said you were
Yes.
working with the Jesuits. Okay.
Yes, I am a priest.
So
Reprising
are
my role as a
you-
priest.
Okay. So you are a Jesuit priest. You know that San Daniel is Dominican territory.
Oh, why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here?
But
Okay.
you're who they had, so they sent you guys. When you hear the name Padre Dizon, you know that he must be the Dominican priest that they basically is in charge of this parish. So the cart moves forward. As the cart makes its way, you notice the road getting rather smooth. You don't know if it's because the ground is getting softer or the rocks are becoming a little more scarce, but you feel yourself nodding off as you would on a long car ride. This is a very, when traveling to rural Philippines, this is a very relatable experience. The three of you wake up, and I'm gonna start with Mateo's character. You are once again in the forest. You are taking cover behind a tree. Bullets are flying past your body. This is the only thing you know. Some people have been causing trouble. And when you arrived at this village to discern what happened, you just heard a loud rebel yell coming from the nearby woods, and everything just went to shit. These people, you're gonna bring them in for tearing up their cedulas or their citizenship certificates and declaring themselves independent, which is something that is treason against the Spanish crown. As this happens, your men are scattered, the rebels are firing. What do you do?
Is my sister with me?
No.
Okay, how bad is the... You said my tree is being peppered with bullets. Can I tell the direction of the enemy?
Yes, you can. They're on the side that the bullets are hitting.
Thank you. I think I'll do a head count first. How many people do I have with me? And
All right, right
compared
now-
to what it feels like I'm up against. And we're in a tree line?
Yep, you're in a tree line. Right now, you are flanked by two men to your right who are both hiding behind the same tree, and they're kind of fighting over the space. And you have one guy hiding over at a tree next to you. Luckily for you, the trees are quite sturdy. They're made of, basically the trees, the one you're hiding behind is a Nara tree, practically bulletproof. The other two, they seem to be hiding, taking cover behind some Kamagong trees, also pretty hard. Branches are so stiff they can be used as weapons.
If it seems like there are two that are distracted, I'm going to try and use that. How many men do I have with me?
Right now, that's just those three. You don't know where the rest are.
Those are my men. Two
Yes,
of them
they're
are
your men.
fighting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's my men fighting over the same tree. Fantastic.
Sorry, I shouldn't have said flanked, but yes.
Okay. All right. That makes life harder. Okay. I'm gonna try and take a peek to where the enemy are and where they are positioned. Then. So I've got three men with me. What's the situation on the other side?
On the other side, it's a hail of bullets. It's nighttime, so you can't actually see them.
Okay. I'm going to give a loud whistle and just go "Tish!" and just try and get them to share the damn tree. It's big enough. And then I'm going to get them to just stop and just let them wash. Let the bullets wash and then when there's the tiniest moment of silence, probably while the wash is happening, he's going to signal that he's going to do military speak that I'm not going to attempt to do. And the message is, when they reload, they will focus on me, then get around them. So he's going to take their attention, run across while they're reloading, and then hopefully while they're doing that, they can, they might make a couple of shots at him, but by the time they've done that, they're one, focused on him, and two, don't have a chance to fire much before he's at another position, probably about 30 feet away.
All right, good. Just to be able to, through the chaos, being able to deliver an order effectively, I need you to make a roll for spirit. You have a proficiency school in carouse, which means you add 1 die. So you're going to be rolling 1 die for spirit and another die for carouse, so 2 dice. And because it says in your character questions, when rolling against a character that recognizes your service, obviously your crew members do recognize your service, you have advantage 2, which means you have 2 rerolls.
Okay, and I needed to get what to succeed?
5 or 6.
Okay, I've got 1 5. Should I re-roll anyway? Is it just a free thing?
Reroll the other thing.
1 success out of the 2 dice.
Okay, so you have 1 success. That's enough for them to stop fighting over the tree. Eventually, the shots stop. The 2 move around.
I specifically wait for the second while that happens. I want them focused on me so that they can loop around the enemy. So they're focused on me as I obviously run for cover, take cover, and if a couple of shots happen to me, that's fine.
All right, I'll need you to make a 3 body check.
Okay. 3 body, meaning?
Since your body is 3, you roll 3 dice.
3 dice, I understand.
You need a 5 or 6.
1 success.
1 success. You are successful. You don't get hurt. In fact, your men manage to go around and start peppering the guys from their flanks. There is panic, and you actually hear routing. Say what you want about the rebels, but they are disorganized as of now.
Yes.
Small history fact. A lot of the battles in the Philippine Revolution were lost because of bad leadership and poorly trained soldiers. But what they lacked for in training and leadership, they made up for in spirit. All right. Crisanto, you find yourself in a ditch. You manage to take cover in one of the ditches, and hiding behind a rock right in front of you, the rock is also being peppered with bullets. You're not sure if it's Mateo or Garcia because they're twins. They look alike, but it's one of them. It's one of the twins.
It's one of them. Okay, I will start going through my prayers, just hoping that God will see us through this very dark night, this valley of shadow and death moment.
I just need you to roll spirit for that, because it might help you.
Okay, I will roll. I got a 2 and a 6.
On your next roll, you will have 1 advantage. You've inspired yourself, but you feel like God has inspired you.
Yes.
So what do you do?
My faith never wavers.
So what do you do when you see your comrade in danger?
In the terms of danger, how close is the threat?
How close is the threat? You don't know, but you can hear you can hear the sounds of the bullets, and you can tell they're several yards away. Which is probably why they haven't been able to hit Garcia.
I would actually shout in vernacular just as a side, which is, we're not the foreigners, we're not the Spaniards, as a way to, play up with the fact that we're locals. Maybe it'll let their guard down.
You cheeky motherfucker.
Wolf in sheep's clothing.
My God.
I remember the Bible verse
Lie.
where we have to
Lie, audience, is what she's doing.
Okay, I need you to roll spirit again.
Yay! What does advantage do again? Can you
We're
remind?
not the baddies. We totally are.
Reroll. So you get to reroll 1.
I have a 5 and a 6.
You succeed. They hear you. They put their rifles down, and you hear. Well, that guy didn't sound Spanish. And then all of a sudden, from the sides, bam, 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 bam. So they didn't stop firing because they ran out of ammo. They stopped firing because they heard Crisanto And now they're getting shot at from the sides.
Yeah.
And they start routing.
Woo!
All right.
Yeah. Save the day. At what cost?
Crisanto,
We're gonna ignore that.
you look over at Garcia. Garcia, I need you to make a spirit check.
Nope.
Okay,
I've
what
got
does
a
it look
4
like?
and a 2.
4 and a 2. Okay, you notice even if the firing is done, Crisanto, you see that Garcia is still frozen behind that rock.
You know, is it safe for me to traverse and head over to Garcia?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I head over and I move over to Garcia and says, "Be well. It is okay. God has kept us safe." I try to comfort them as I would notice that they are in shakes. Like, he's kind of delulu. He's in his delusion. Like, this is God protecting us. We're doing our jobs for the Lord. And I'm just there comforting my fellow comrade. And I say comforting words. Is there a way to roll to just help them ease up? Because I do have
Yes,
the
roll
ability.
spirit.
They're dire needs, so I would actually... Okay. I got 3, 6, and a 5. 1 success.
1 success. You succeed. Garcia, you feel this warm spiritual comfort take over you, and you feel like the fighting is over. You move forward, the flashback continues on, and Crisanto, you realize that this village that you've come across, and this village that after fighting back, you are tasked with destroying, is the same village where you were the parish priest at one point.
No, I ran away from this place. There's pale discolor. I would say it's both Mateo and Garcia. We'll see how pale Crisanto is, and he's not looking at anyone. It's like, looks like somebody who's seen a ghost, or like, it's like they're just shell shocked. They're not, like, the moment they recognize the road, they recognize the path they thought they've run away from and left behind. Now they're coming back. Just when he thought he was out, he was back in. He's pale. Doesn't look.
You see some rebels standing in a line, their hands tied behind their backs, firing squads behind them as you hear the cry, "Fuego!" and several guns fire in a blaze. Because this is a flashback, all of this is happening in front of you so fast. Crisanto, you are already holding the torch. And a kubo is a straw house. Well, made of basically a straw house, some wood, some straw. And you're holding the torch. You have your orders.
Whose kubo is this? Whose house?
You
is
don't
this?
know. It's a kubo. It belonged to traitors. It's gotta go down.
In that moment, if this is the same town, and this could be one of the people, like, in his heart, it is heavy. He had tried to bring them to the light, but they are stuck in darkness. Perhaps this is a way I can bring them to the light. As he throws the torch.
Okay. You see it go up in flames. The camera moves up and you see the rest of the village up in smoke. You see more shots of more firing squads. You see people being dragged from their homes. You see symbols of Bathala, the old god, shining in the flames. It's a sun in the middle surrounded by some geometric patterns and some stars. Funnily enough, it's also our flag. The Philippine flag is also a sun with some stars around it.
Oh.
Nothing to do with the old paganistic beliefs. Supposedly, the symbol of Bathala is a sun surrounded by stars. The Philippine
Yeah.
flag is a symbol surrounded by stars. I
It's
don't
a
know.
weird coincidence, is all
It's
I'm
coincidence.
So
You never
connected.
know. As the camera moves up, the smoke and the fire can be seen in the darkness, and then you see the title of the movie, Into the Lion's Den.
Yeah.
By the way, did anybody hit any of their milestones unless you're the mark or the traitor, and you're hitting mark or traitor milestones. You don't tell me, okay? Like if you're the mark, just try to see if you hit any
Good
mark
question.
milestones. But everyone has to tell me if they hit any adventurer milestones. I'm
Yeah,
going to
please.
say what the adventurer milestones are.
Please.
So for the soldier, Mateo, your possible milestones are stand up to bullies, be the first to draw your weapon, express to another adventurer that war is hell, volunteer for something dangerous. Oh hell, there was.
Only call the adventurer ones. You don't mention any of the other ones.
Yeah, if you're the mark or the traitor, still hit your
Why
adventurer
are you
milestones
asking
because
that, Vixen? Huh?
I don't know.
All right.
Why are you questioning me?
sus.
Why
All right,
Why
so
are you-
I just don't
are
want to
you
stuff
questioning
up
my
any of this.
questioning?
that's fair. That's fair.
We could
It's
go back
perfectly
and
fair.
forth on this all day.
That's true. That's true. That's because I know something's up.
The cart makes its way to the inside of the town. Now, you can ask Mang Hector to take you two places. One, directly to the mayor's house, because he's your point man. Or you could you could ask him to take you straight to the crime scene.
Just
Well, Mateo would probably want to go straight to work. Is there a
Yeah.
reason to do
Yeah.
something else? And I guess I'm
A
asking the
quick-
crew.
a quick
Courtesy.
question. Where is how close is the parish? Where is it in the side of town? Because my character is gonna be as far away from that spot as possible.
Well,
That's
if
it.
you're going to remember your high school history class, Denma, the town follows a rule. The town follows an urban planning rule called centralizado, which means that City Hall is always right across the town square from the church. So it'll
Okay,
be
avoiding
unavoidable.
the church, avoiding the mayor. Then we're gonna go Hector. I immediately turn to the others. Say, wouldn't we want to straight to go to work? Perhaps we shall go to the crime. We can visit the mayor later, and we must make sure that all traces of the sooner we investigate,
Why are
the
you
better.
sweating?
Of
Oh, by
no
the way,
consequence. Of no consequence.
Just for the audience and everybody else, in this particular urban planning scheme, the church is always at the center of the village. Everything just rings around it, depending on how important it is.
But I'm
The
assuming
more
the
important you
crime-
are, the closer you are to the church.
The crime scene then would be as far away from the center, which is what I like. Let's go. We must
Oh,
go
yes,
and
yes, it
make
will be.
haste. Pray make haste. Must go.
I'm just gonna look over at Garcia and just. I don't care.
Okay. Hector takes you
Quick-
north.
Can I have a quick scene with Garcia, just as a quick quip? As I turn to Garcia, and they mentioned Jill. Jill as one of the ones we're doing rights for? Jill? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, she's the most recent victim.
I turn to Garcia. You are aware of the rights, yes? You know how to go about speaking of the rights. It would be better if and he pauses for a bit. Are you ordained? Have you already taken your oath of celibacy?
It's a bit of a personal question now, isn't it?
No,
I'm
he's
gonna
asking, have you been a
cough.
nun?
I'm gonna cough very loudly, like I'm her brother. I'm right next to her. Can you Can you
Not.
not?
But this is I'm only merely asking if they have accepted the oaths to become a nun. So I would know that should we do the proper rites to the dead woman. I'm assuming the priest has done for most men, but if I understand correctly, most priests would only do it for the males. So and usually it is the madres, the nuns, who do the rites for the women. Are you ordained?
With all the chaos and fighting, I have not had a chance.
This is a conundrum, it seems. But we shall try our best to do the rites for the fallen, for that has passed. We can only hope that the gates of heaven will accept our rites. There will be a big responsibility for you, Garcia, to make sure this soul is put to rest.
If you say it must be done.
I turn over to Mateo actually and asked a similar question. If you too have taken the oaths, you too are ordained?
I don't think they'd have me. I haven't asked, but last I checked, if what I did earned anyone suggesting such things, I think it would have come up by now. I think they prefer to use me as a tool.
There is a concern that goes over his face as he goes, You know that we are of three.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm aware. The arrangement is that anything to do with that sort of thing, I'm going to let you handle, and I'm going to do the actual work.
but you are like he immediately goes on the usual that church guy. But you are to choose an affiliation, yes, a denomination. Have you chosen if you are going to be Dominican, Jesuit? You must know you must choose an affiliation. So does your sister for safety. If you are not to choose an affiliate, he lowers his voice. You know what has happened to the last three priests that of 5 years ago. They were
So we're
unaffiliated.
missing a lot of context. So I'm going to say that he would simply say that Garcia and I are part of insert correct answer church here. But as far as being anywhere higher up the totem pole, he won't speak for Garcia. But I can't imagine that they, in my head, in this, let's face it, somewhat imaginary version of whatever we're doing, they probably want a degree of separation.
Oh, okay. So that would
And
yeah.
and so he is here to help investigate and put people down as required. He is like if you're watching a gangster movie, you see that little gangster, and then you see the big bricked house that's behind him. Just like, oh, I'm taking this guy seriously now. My job is for people to take you seriously, and my sister to a lesser extent as well. Right?
Okay. All right. So like Capo.
That's what
So,
I imagine his role is.
Yeah. He's just there's a bit of comfort that you are part of the church, but he just reminds you that you just have to be affiliated for protection because those who do not tie themselves to the church will be killed.
Is that why you we're so well protected that you're avoiding the mayor's house?
Of no consequence. I just prefer the sooner we put the soul to rest and send them to heaven, they will not stay in purgatory. Yes, yes. There's much time has passed. The sooner the soul is put in its right place, we can go about matters of the living.
I don't disagree with any of that, but if you don't tell me and my sister what it is that's actually needed and required, we can't help you.
Of course.
So I'm going to assume that I have all the information I need based on our long, fruitful history together.
Yes.
And remind you that if I don't have it, then I can't keep you safe.
A pause as he goes, of course, of course. In truth, such is the way. He turns to Garcia and just goes, and before we begin, we will give you some time alone with the departed. You do initial investigations, as it is a woman's form. Best to look at it and give us the notes afterwards. See if she has been touched by the devil.
Boy, that's going to be interesting. So you make your way towards the crime scene. You move to the edge of town. Eventually, young Hector turns to the rest of you and he says, I'm sorry, but the cart isn't going to go through this thicket. It's just this really large bamboo thicket. And so you're going to have to walk all the way. Just keep going north. You'll get there. Eventually, somebody comes out of the thicket and he says, he's like, hey, Hector, what are you doing? You can't bring people in here. There's a terrible things happened in here. You already know what happened here. And Hector goes, yes, but they're from Manila. They want to see Jill. And the man who came from the thicket.
I'm just going to show them my papers and ignore whoever that person is, and I'll keep moving.
And he says, whoa, no. You must understand, senor. It's not something, you might want to leave the lady behind at least. It's not something for her to see.
He's going to keep moving and he's going to say, walk and talk with me.
He walks with you and taken in by your authoritative demeanor, he eventually realizes that, oh crap, this guy is serious. He is from Manila and he is going to investigate. Turns to you and he says, sir, what do you need to know?
First of all, the names of the deceased.
The names of the deceased. This one's Jill. She's the only one who's here right now. There seems to be a new one every week. Another victim was right before her last week. Another girl, Tala, she was killed. Another previous victim, her name is Maria Carmen. She was also killed the week before Tala. So far, it's been those three.
And when did it start?
When did it start? Well, it started around 3 days ago. But we've had people going missing. The problem is we haven't been able to identify them. All of them women, all of them young.
So people are going missing as well as being murdered.
Yes, but seeing as how the bodies are, we probably just couldn't find them. Possibly some wild animals might have gotten to them or something.
I'm going to look behind me. Garcia and Cristobal keeping up.
Yeah, Crescento would actually be concerned as they were mostly. He asked, "Have they gone through all the rites, all the three women, and why is there only one woman with a Spanish name? Have they not been baptized?"
Well, those are just their names. We didn't think it would cause any trouble. Tala was named for her grandmother.
Yes, but if the church is much active, they are to expect to carry a Spanish name, not this Filipino names.
Mateo is going to do his best not to destroy his and the team's authority by like arguing with Cristobal, but he will like kind of, I think Vixen would probably notice like the veins on the back of his neck kind of like getting like a little thicker as he's like clearly chomping on his own tongue, just kind of like, is this relevant at all to anything? Because they're already dead.
In
Yeah, it's a-
Mateo's like line of sight, Garcia just taps the bracelet, sort of like,
It'll be okay. And then he goes, looks like, I turn to Garcia and go, looks like you will have to do rites not just for one soul, but three departed souls. We hope that God will receive them after being this long. It's so far
well-
into the purgatory.
Padre Dizon did the rites for Tala and named her Maria when she went into the grave.
Good.
Bodies, where are they?
Well, we're almost there. You can already sense the smell as you approach. As you get into the clearing, you see this pile of, almost looks like a pile of meat. By the time you arrive at the crime scene,
Crap.
you find in the middle of the clearing Jill's mangled corpse. Her once beautiful face now a mangled slurry of viscera. Her skull almost smiling through the meaty red curtain of what was once her flesh.
yeah.
Boy.
I'm a
Okay.
writer.
I love,
Love
this
that.
already.
Nah, yeah. Okay, I'm trying to like think about what his response would be. I don't know if grenades exist, but I think he's seen some pretty mangled bodies in the past, so I don't know if he'd be that shocked. Maybe shocked by the power of whatever it was that did this.
Yes,
Maybe
there were.
artillery, but like people would notice that, like a cannon. It sounds like.
Well, from what it looks like, from your view, it seems like she'd been trampled on by horses.
Well, that's interesting.
But here's the thing: horses are not native to this part of the country.
Yeah, that's
in fact,
right.
the
right,
horse
'cause-
that took you in is the only horse that exists.
I'm gonna say I count one. Where are the other two?
The other two are already in the ground behind the church.
Oh, he's like, at the mention of the church, he's just like, oh God, we really have. I turned to Garcia. It looks like we have to pay visits to the church to make sure that the rites are done to the women. You can start the rites now, Garcia. And you see the intense, like, roughness of the voice, like, go on, do the rites, do it now. The sooner we do it, the sooner we get away. Like, you can see every urge of urgency of, like, finish the rites.
I'm going to say quietly while this is happening, well, may want to pass it along that we may be along with shovels if we don't have enough information on this body. You understand?
All right. Who inspects the corpse? Oh, it's gotta be Garcia. Oh no.
Yep.
Garcia, you're gonna have to
One for the
inspect the
team.
corpse.
Good thing investigation is my thing.
Wow. All right. So, roll mind. So
Lovely.
you've
I
got
love that.
3 minds, so you get to add 1. So you're rolling 4 dice.
Very nice. Okay. I only need at least one success, right?
5 or 6, yeah.
I have one success.
You have 1 success. You notice. Well, I've already mentioned it before. The body is mangled. You notice hoof prints on the flesh, like when you get a boot print. If you get stepped on really, really hard, a horse can do way more than that.
When you get kicked.
But at the same time, When will a horse ever be that angry or hateful? You never know. And horses bite too, but there are no teeth marks. You also notice there is horsehair on the grass. How do you know this? Because it looks like it came from a violin bow,
Yeah, it's
which
quite
is what
coarse.
they use horsehair
Yeah.
for. At the same time, looking at her mangled body almost makes her look like a rag doll. You can tell that she's been thrown around, smashed against the trees, smashed against the ground. It's
There is
horrible.
no stability to her form.
Absolutely mangled. As you look at it, you remember seeing one of your own. Let's say you think Garcia had played with dolls as a child.
Probably. Or made her
Most
own.
people have. She made her own. Let's say she made her own. One day, you used to live in a small Spanish community. You were the only natives who lived there. One day, Garcia stepped into her yard to find one of her dolls trampled, stepped into the ground, looked very much like how Jill's body looked at this point. And right at that point, a couple of Spanish boys were sitting on the fence and laughing at her. And
Is
the
there
thing,
a rock I can pick up in this flashback?
oh yes, there is, but not before you
Throw it
hear
at-
the words "Go home, Indio, go home." Indio is a
I throw
racial
it at
slur.
them. Yeah,
All right, roll body.
lovely. 1-1.
I believe.
This, which is perfect. That's a 5 though. So
5.
yeah.
Body hit. The rock hits one of the kids in the head. He gets angry, and the two kids start to rush towards you. Meanwhile, your brother Mateo, you see this happening. Two boys, older than you,
Sure.
are about to basically physically assault your younger sister for a rock thrown. What do you do?
Okay. I imagine that he just kind of comes out like from like a corner area, and I'm sad to say this might be a technique that he's practiced before. He was probably witnessed this, got into position, waited for the correct moment, like hiding in a bush or in a corner of like wall, and then come out with a brick. Just
All right, Mateo, roll 3 body with advantage because surprise.
yep. 1 success and advantage means reroll.
Yep.
Yeah.
Reroll one of the failures.
One of the failures. Well, I got 1 success.
You got 1 success. Immediately, you come out of the corner and you bash one of the kids' heads in with the brick.
Yeah.
And it's the one that doesn't have a bleeding face from the rock. The 2 children, both their faces bleeding, look at the twins. And I need both of you to make spirit saves.
Sure. No.
2 5s.
You don't know. Well, I mean, Vixen knows, but neither of you know why the bullies run. But they run because their faces are bleeding and yours aren't. And they know better to pick a fight with people who are stronger than them. Bullies, natural cowards.
As soon as they're like out of the way, Garcia just starts crying.
I would walk up, and even at that age, I don't know if he would know what to do, but he would sit next to her, and if she wanted to, he would let her hold his arm, and he would just be on the lookout for anybody else.
Garcia, do you take comfort from your older brother?
She picks up the doll first and like holds it as she cries on the shoulder of her brother.
This world you grew up in, only the strong prosper. And it is only the strong who survive, which is probably how you ended up in the military in the first place. But as you grew up, you'd never find yourself taking comfort in your brother's arms again. His shoulder has always been cold ever since you experienced the things you have together. There was no more room for tenderness, which is why your world, your older brother being most of it, has also grown cold. And we move back to the present. And we see Garcia looking down at the mangled corpse. So you've managed to get the clues, the hoof prints on the corpse, and the horsehair.
Garcia, what do we know?
Does Garcia know that horses aren't generally in this area except for that one?
Yes, you'd know.
By the general terrain, if nothing else.
Ask the local, is that horse ever loose?
Not the one horse, no. And if you're asking if he did this, he definitely didn't. This was the work of the Tikbalang.
Would she know what that is?
Yes, you would know what the Tikbalang is. Growing up in Manila, you'd hear about the Tikbalang from your elders, but never from any of the Spanish laid-in Christians. You know that Tikbalang is a creature that lives in the forest, one of the ancient forest spirits. It is a creature that has the body of a man, a very tall man, but the head of a horse, the head and hooves of horse. Sometimes they have tails, sometimes they do not. Their neighs are loud and terrifying. They come out at night and are known for abducting young women. Basically, a tale that you would tell to little girls so that they would never leave home.
I definitely feel
Denma
Garcia used to have nightmares about that when she was little.
Probably did. It was probably used to keep you in the house. Your mother probably told you about it. But of course, to believe in such old beliefs is heresy. I don't know if any of you would have picked up on this, but it's strange how the Filipinos would believe in a bipedal horse monster before the Spanish arrived, when it was the Spanish who introduced horses to them in the first place.
That is very weird now that you mention it. Well, that gave me a shiver. Good job.
Yeah, I guess, like, as Hector, Mang Hector is mentioning the Tikbalang, you would see.
Sorry,
like,
it's not Hector. It's the guy who was manning the crime scene. You
What's
haven't
his
even
name?
learned his name.
I go,
You haven't asked.
what is your name, boy?
Sorry, I am not a boy. I am the Tanod. I am the town Tanod. My name is Frank Castro.
Frank.
What does Tanod mean, please?
Like a very low version of a constable.
Counselor, kind of like.
Okay. All right.
A constable or a police, local police.
Okay, constable.
I think we need to confirm the bodies. I think we need to confirm if they died the same way. Or you can confirm verbally.
Yes, I can confirm verbally they all died in the same way, which is why I'm pretty sure this is the work of a Tikbalang.
Sure.
Were there...
By the way, just so you know, Crisanto, belief in the old pagan spirits is heresy.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm scoffing and go, you speak of the phantoms and the mountains and the forest. Perhaps it's simply the work of the devil. The devil has goat's feet. He takes on the form of a goat. Perhaps this is the demon, the devil walking amongst us. Perhaps the town.
Can we focus?
Who is the priest in this town? No, it is true.
I don't doubt you, Padre.
What?
The local priest is Padre Dizon, Dominican order. He's delivering mass now as we speak.
Could you give us a moment, please?
Yes, of course.
I'm going to look expectantly at Cristobal.
You've been calling him Cristobal. He's Crisanto, by the way. Cristobal.
Crisanto? Really? Okay, my bad. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's my character's name in Walking Dead.
I know, in The Walking Dead, I was like...
He's going to look expectantly at Crisanto. He's not going to say anything. He's just like, this is where the investigation's leading. What do you want to do?
Kind of look at him. There's a nervousness, and he goes, I'm afraid you and Garcia will have to go to the church alone. I mustn't show my face.
Why? We are members of the same church you are. Are we not in the same danger?
We are not Dominican. I'm a Jesuit. But this place is now Dominican, and he pauses for a bit before he goes, this place used to be Jesuit territory. Now it's Dominican. I was the parish priest.
Are we not going in as representatives of the Jesuits?
It would be best for the town for them to not see me, and given that it is better for Garcia to handle the departed women, it will be best if you both face, and I shall speak to the mayor alone. They will not take
The
They would
mayor?
all have heard
Isn't
we are
he right?
here.
The mayor is right by the church. What
I
is
can
the
go.
difference going to be?
I must not show
What are you-
myself to those of the flock. And the priest, they will take not kindly of a different priest, the former parish priest, and trenching on his church.
By the way, just so you guys know, the Jesuits are excommunicates. At this point in history, they've only recently been allowed to come back.
So that's why, nope, I don't want to cause any trouble with the Dominicans.
So you say. Yeah. That it was like the way that the character's behaving is just kind of setting off his alarm bells. It could be completely false, but like that's what he's reading into it. So he's just like, look, I'd rather be back home. I'd rather be drinking from a nice glass of beer and not from a dirty river. I would like
Of course
to
you would,
leave.
Mateo.
What?
It's always beer with you.
We have a schedule to keep. If you think that it is going to aid our schedule for you to split off, then fine, go and do that. But we can't help you if you've gone off somewhere else and we don't know where you are.
We can meet.
So what
at
is the plan?
Go to the church, ask some questions from Padre Zion about the two women, the remaining women that he has buried in the church. Find out their practices. What have they been doing the past few weeks that might incur the sightings of this demon? I believe this is a work of the devil, and perhaps they are not practicing as the Jesuits would. If this was my church, this would have not happened. But clearly something is happening that is showing that it is the devil's work.
What I mean is that you're going to go to the mayor. Where are we going to find you and when?
You can follow me at the mayor's house. I will merely make some inquiries with the mayor on what has transpired in the town beyond if there are any deals taken by the mayor as well. Perhaps he has made a deal with the devil.
That's gonna whatever. And he's just gonna leave it at that. Just like that's gonna be your opening line, is it? Have you done any?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. Have you made a deal with the devil? By the way, just so you know, the proper term for mayor in this place is cabeza. So,
Cabeza.
How do you spell that?
sorry, Cabeza.
Cabeza.
Sometimes it's spelled with a K if you're speaking Tagalog.
Okay.
Fine.
Beautiful.
All right, I'm gonna go to the church, and he's gonna stomp off what his sister said definitely pissed him off. And if she is planning to follow him, she's gonna have to walk double step because I imagine he's twice her size.
Is she
Oh.
still
She
doing,
can keep up.
like, assuming the rites have been done by Garcia, is it possible? Yeah, is it
All
possible?
right, Garcia.
The
Do the
woman is
rites.
still on the floor. Hold. They're still there. We
Okay,
must claim
Garcia.
their soul.
as a layperson, you don't know the rights.
Yep.
So you're gonna have to make something up. So what would Garcia do?
Love that.
So do you have to oversee this?
Yes, I must make sure that the soul is sent from purgatory to heaven. No pressure. Just here, making sure you're doing the Lord's
I
work.
will say, I think if she happens, like while this is happening and Garcia's looking around for help, like what do I do? Like Mateo's already gone.
He's already gone.
Because you burned that bridge verbally. Like, good luck, Tia.
She mentally flips you off.
Is there perhaps a way I can aid them? Like, story-wise, I
You're
would be
gonna
like...
have.
Because I do have religious rituals as a proficiency, so I could try to teach them. Like, perhaps you can repeat after me.
Okay.
Sounds
Do
like
you
a
accept-
plan.
All right. You accept help.
Hmm.
All right. Very good.
I hand
So you're
them
gonna have
over,
to help them.
actually, I will just hand over a pendant, actually, to Garcia. When Garcia
Lovely.
takes it, assuming you've listened to the stories and stuff, you actually see that it's Saint Asates is one of the 3 soldiers who escorted the Saint Paul, the apostle, to his death. He gives that to you. He says to hover it over the body and to repeat after him some Latin catechism. As that happens, there is. Can I call for a flashback scene?
It's your flashback. Let's go.
Okay, so
Describe the
call-
scene.
as I give over the pendant and I'm seeing Garcia with the pendant hovering over this body, he is reminded as he turns to the side, he is a young boy again. He is seeing his mother holding the way Garcia would hold the pendant, but with her rosary, praying, facing. He turns and sees the cross, and then he turns back to his mother. And as he looks back at his mother, you see, like, the mother's looking at him now, angrily, saying, "You are not doing the prayers right. You are dishonoring God. How dare you? You are a sinful boy." Right there in church, the mother whips the rosary across his face. And you see the madness in his eyes as she goes, "Pray for your sins. Pray for your sins. Tie yourself to the church. Cleanse yourself of all sin." And he is horrified. And you actually hear the quiver as he's going. Like, you can see how intense he is with his prayer, like trying to get it right, to tell you. And he's telling you in present, "Please do the prayer right. Please bring their soul to purgatory. Do not fail the church." He's putting out his pain and his trauma of getting the prayers right towards you. Just in that way. You see the intensity every time he does this to try to pray for the dead. This nervousness. This.
All right, Vixen, I need you
say
to
the
make a
words
spirit
right.
check.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Garcia.
It is fine. I've got this. I do got this. I got a 5.
Somehow, Garcia gets it.
Yeah!
We move into Act 2.
Yay! Woo! Love that.
It's now Act 2. So Crisanto heads to the mayor's house and Garcia heads to the church where her brother went, I assume.
Do we declare if we completed any milestones? Or that's not yet?
Adventure milestones, you could
Yes.
only have one. And I think you only did... You've done one already, right? All right, so how many milestones have you reached, Denma? Just one?
Actually, it's
Adventure
gonna get
milestones.
to 3.
No, you can only hit up to 1 in the first
Right.
act.
Okay. Oh, it's still first act. I thought it was act 2 already. My bad. Never mind.
Yeah. So you've hit 1. Just by the way, which one of the 3 milestones did you? Which milestone was it?
This one, a flashback when you were a child.
Okay, that's
Show
your milestone.
how you were weak even then.
Boy. Okay. Jack, which milestone did you hit?
Oh, you're
Muted.
Volunteer for something dangerous.
Right, in the flashback. And Vixen, did you hit any milestones in the first act?
Half of one.
Don't worry, we'll get there. As we open in Act 2, we cut to Crisanto and Garcia leaving the scene. We see the camera slowly zoom in onto the corpse. We see several flies flying over, and then we hear the sound of galloping. Meanwhile, back at the church, obviously Mateo gets there first, and you can hear the sound of very vigorous preaching on the inside. And I mean no innuendos. It really is what it is. You hear him standing at his pulpit, and back then there was like a dome over the priest, and that would like amplify their voice. So it almost sounds like this amplified, otherworldly voice telling them the stuff. So what would happen is he would read off the Bible in Latin, and then he would interpret that using the local language, obviously to skew them in a certain way. And the priest, Padre Dizon, stands and he says, "And that is why, my brothers and sisters in Christ, we must hold to our beliefs. We pray the rosary every night. That is why the devil is picking off our offspring. It is why we are losing our daughters to the devil and his minions. It is a test. They are forcing us to they are forcing us to re-examine ourselves, which is why if any of you hold doubt in your hearts, expunge that doubt immediately, or else these things will continue to happen. Remember that God and Mother Spain look on us for our obedience and our devotion." Of course, they consider reverence to the Spanish crown to be religious because everyone knows that the monarchy are ordained by
Of
God.
course. Yeah.
And as this happens, Mateo is just kind of walking into the church.
It depends on the reaction, I suppose. If the priest like notices me and immediately stops, then I'll react accordingly. I will put myself into a position where he can clock me. I do kind of want to know, I imagine we're all in a uniform, right? Could you describe what that uniform sort of looks like, Titus? Just for
All right.
like visualization purposes?
You are in a Spanish military uniform.
Okay.
Hold on, let me just get a picture of it. It's a blue uniform. You have and you have this umbrella-shaped hat on your head. It looks like this.
So light blue uniform, a hat similar to kind of what you see kind of samurai wear almost. And what's that chain thing? There's like a chain thing. It's like, I assume it's just to keep the hat on?
It's just to keep the hat on, yeah.
Interesting.
It has no symbolization. By the way, short tourism segue. If you visit
Yeah.
the Philippines in Intramuros, the police still dress like this.
Amazing.
Uh,
There you go.
and it's the entire fort is preserved in Spanish tradition.
I'm sure,
The bullet holes
one
in the
thing's
walls are still there.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
All right.
Well, I am dressed like that, and depending on his reaction, I'll react accordingly. I don't think he would just walk through a procession. He's not that dumb. Like, he doesn't want the
Yeah.
town to turn on him while he's investigating. So he will just go. Like, what kind of church are we talking about? Something relatively
It's small.
simple.
It's not a
Yeah.
cathedral. It's just a small church.
All right. I'd just go to, like, I'd enter the room. I assume everyone can sort of hear me enter. They'd look and see that. And then I'm just going to find a corner to stand in. I'll leave the door slightly open to indicate that I've been there for when my sister eventually catches up.
Okay. So you stand in the corner. The priest stops a little bit when he looks at you because why is an agent of Manila, because they recognize your uniform, this guy's from Manila. Why are they here and what are they doing? And then he eventually realizes they must be here to investigate the killings. He gives you a look almost as if he's promising that he's going to be with you shortly.
I'll just motion to continue. While he's preaching, I'll just go to my happy place. There's beer, beaches, and seagulls.
Typical.
As that happens, you actually hear people at the back gossiping. You hear that, actually, no, I need you to roll mind just to be able
Okay.
to make out what they're saying.
1 success.
One success. You find out that they're talking about, you hear them talk to each other. So did you hear about Jill? Yes, I heard about Jill. Honestly, I'm not surprised she was next. You know, with all those rumors circulating about her, I'm not surprised the devil got her. That's right. You know, the devil really just doesn't. The moment you become promiscuous, you're not safe from the devil anymore. God was probably very cross with her. But that's all they're saying. I heard her parents didn't even come to mass because they're just absolutely beside each other. Maybe they're guilty because they didn't raise their daughter properly. And then one One woman goes, I heard she wasn't even a virgin. And they were just like, oh.
Yeah.
Go.
And the priest eventually calls everyone to communion. Do you partake, Mateo?
Yeah, he knows how to play the game. Deep in his heart, he is not convinced by any of this, but he knows what he had to do to survive. And I think he was the one that convinced his sister that it was a good idea. And for better or for worse, as far as he's concerned, his theory is proving to be correct. This is the way it is. This is what is expected, and they don't get to know who he is on the inside, so he will play the game on the outside.
That's good. As you move forward, you your thoughts also kind of go back to you and Garcia when you were teenagers, having your first communion ceremony, kneeling together, the priest putting the wafer in your mouths. I don't know what it's like over there, but it's very traditional that when your first communion, you receive it directly on the mouth.
Yeah, that does. I remember that happening when I was young. I think that phased out over time.
It did, yeah.
For reasons that I think are somewhat obvious if you know the history of Catholic priests and young children. So I think they kind of went like...
Well, I thought you meant because of COVID. Okay, wow.
No. Well, look, I'm actually not making a joke. I'm just saying that that is my assumption based on image control.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they decided to just hand it to you instead, is my memory of that.
Like, personally, when I go to church, I just have it handed to me.
Right.
So the you take your communion from the priest, but as he doesn't say body of Christ when he does it. He says,
interesting.
Welcome to San Daniel.
Gracias.
You still say amen. So you go back to your seat, and as mass ends, we cut back to Crisanto and Garcia. Crisanto, how did you grow up? Were you with a relatively native family, or were you completely like Spanish born, and were you completely Spanish raised?
I would say similar to in this era, there's already like mixed blood. So he came from a barrio that mingled with the Chinese and Spanish colonies. So he's parts Filipino, Spanish, and Chinese.
You were from a barrio.
Yeah, I grew up in a barrio, and the mom was very much like a devout Catholic.
Okay, so the mom was a devout Catholic, but since you grew up in a barrio, you would know the rule with entering the woods. Can you please let Jack and Vixen know what you're supposed to do when you enter the woods?
My brain's switching up to flipping the clothes if you get lost in the woods.
Yes, you're supposed to flip your clothes. So explain to them why.
Yeah, I forgot why, but I just know that you have to
I'll
flip
explain to them why.
Yes.
You're supposed to flip your clothes whenever you go into the woods. Because if the Diwatas and the Encantos and the Nunos and yes, even the Tikbalangs and all this, if the forest spirits don't like you, they can get you lost. They can fuck with your senses and you will get lost in the woods. The only way to prevent them from doing this is to wear your clothes backwards. None of you did this.
Oh my god.
Which is why you're all in trouble. I didn't remind you to do it because I feel like if you were living, I didn't remind you guys to do it because I feel like in Spanish Manila, your characters would not have remembered.
No, and it wouldn't be a common practice. Like it would be like, oh no, this is all superstition, hullabaloo. And at that realization, I'm like, I immediately stripped my priestly robes and shifted around, and I shout, Garcia, switch your clothes, flip it if you can hear me, flip your clothes, do it. Only God's eyes will see you. It is fine.
Oh my god.
So it's just funny. You're a young lady. You're lost in the woods, and you hear a priest shout, "Take off your clothes!" Completely like standard.
I said, flip clothes. Flip your clothes. Flip it.
Do I recognize the voice?
Actually, no, you don't hear him at all. You find yourself walking alone in the woods. You're not quite sure if the direction you're walking in is the correct direction. I need you to make a spirit check.
No, no.
Would this be investigation?
Garcia's a girl, right? Oh
No.
no, we're no.
Garcia is a girl, yes.
I've got one success.
And Garcia isn't just a girl, okay? She's the right age.
Yeah.
She fits into the
Yeah.
yeah.
As soon as you were talking about the victims, I'm like, this is gonna be great. She like holds her wrist and looks around and kisses her friendship bracelet. I'll always have you, Mateo, even if you're not right here.
As you approach forward, you reach another clearing. The clearing is dark. The sun hasn't gone down yet, but the more you walk, the darker it seems to get, mostly because the darkness in the forest and basically the thickness of the foliage is making everything dark. And as you approach the end, you see a cross looming over the ground, and hanging from that cross, you see yourself. Hanging from the cross, hands nailed to the edges. But as you get even closer, you realize it's not you, it's Mateo. And right over his head is right over his head is the label. When people get crucified, right, there's label on top. It says murderer. And you just remember all the people that you've killed alongside this man, and how many people this man has been led to kill because of his orders. And as far as you're aware, this is real.
To get you down from there, she's going to try to carefully get him down from there and lower him to the ground.
Because you passed your spirit check, you don't freeze. You get him off the cross. You managed to get him down. Mateo, if you could say one thing to your sister as your last word, what would it be?
Boy. Last words. Okay. I'm trying not to overthink it. There's just a lot to this relationship and this story. At this stage, given that he's had no opportunity for growth, this current version of him would only be able to express his love in one way, and that would be safe.
Damn it, Jack!
And immediately, Garcia, you find yourself alone in the forest. You don't know which way is back.
I have to apologize.
Crisanto,
Yeah.
I need you to roll mind to find Garcia.
Fucking
My God, please let me find you. No, 2 and 3, no.
Instead
This is
of
it, guys.
could be.
You hear this whimper, almost a gasp, but you don't know. But it came from the south. At least you think it's the south. You have no sense of direction here. There's no sky. There's no compass. There's no nothing. So you move towards it, and you find the church that you used to that you used to be in charge of.
No. Damn it. Just
You're
when I thought.
It's just there on top of the hill. And you hear the people inside screaming because it is on fire. Okay, Crisanto. What did you do?
I locked. Assuming it's a parish and it's built in a way that the Spaniards would make it. He locked the front door.
Yes, with the separate tower for the bell, yes.
Yes. He locked the gates that was usually for the mass. During I believe it would be a midnight mass. He locked the gates.
You gave one final midnight mass and you locked the gates.
I told
How
them
did you find out that these people were heretics?
It started when one of them came to me speaking of visions, and I told them when they saw visions, things in the past, there were a lot of confessions going around that they have forgotten to do their prayers, their catechism. Slowly, the attendance, I noticed, week by week, every midday, people start to dwindle. Their hearts were not with God. They were not faithful. They did not continue the prayers. They did not continue.
As you heard these, you could almost hear the voice of your mother in your ear going, "You are a failure as a priest. The same way as a little boy, you could not shepherd these people to God because you yourself are not of God."
I see he is broken as he hears this from his own mother. The crack in his heart. No, I have taken the oaths. I have memorized all the catechisms. I have done all the prayers, memorized every saint, every angel. It is not me, it is them. They have been led astray. There is only so much God can do. There is only so much the angels and the saints can do. This is their will, their free will.
Then why haven't you cleansed them, Crisanto?
They
Why haven't you cleansed them of their sin?
They will be cleansed one way or the other, be it by hellfire. And then here, I will use a destiny point as he is holding the torch in his hand.
Oh, by the way, you also have another destiny point from last.
Yeah. It's every act, yeah. So, but
Yeah,
right
every
now
act you get a destiny point for having a flashback.
So this is a merge from the previous dream. I will just add the story element that this one would connect to the previous dream of him holding the torch. This time it's not the kubo, but it is the parish.
So the cries of the men, women, and children are heard as the smoke and the smell of burning flesh fills the air. By the way, if you've ever had laser surgery if you've ever had laser surgery, you know what that smell is. It's a very, very distinct smell. You know that a human being is being burned. Well, that and the screams, but yes.
Yeah, the cacophony of screams definitely.
Yeah, Crisanto, you're back. You're back in that place. And what do you say? What do you do? Do you unlock the doors? Do you free them? Or do you watch?
I want to prove to my mother that she is wrong, that they will be cleansed. I throw the torch. I keep the gate closed. And I turn away.
When the screams are finished, Garcia, you find Crisanto standing once again in a clearing.
Clothes inverted.
Looking at nothing. Crisanto, you're back in the clearing. You turn around, and there's Garcia.
There's tears in his eyes as he goes, "They had to be cleansed. It is the will of God. It was the right thing to do. It was the only way to make them right."
Do you walk towards Garcia?
I stay crumpled as I am. You can tell it's kind of like he's so broken with what he has experienced, like hearing the voice of his mother, seeing all that, reliving the horrors, and his clothes flip back. Like he's just like, it's almost like wide eyes and like asking. Actually, he turns to Garcia and he goes, "Forgive me, for I have sinned."
Garcia thinks of the cross with murderer strewn above it.
All right, Garcia. Garcia, here's the thing. When you reunite with Crisanto, and he's on his knees, and he says, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." You don't see Crisanto. You see Mateo. What do you tell Mateo at this moment?
Could make this funny, but
You could hit a milestone. You could also have it as a moment for your character. One of Us Will Die is all about character. Yes, you're solving a mystery, but it's about you.
Yes, I kneel down so that I am at the same eye level as Crisanto. Or Mateo in my eyes. I am right here. I am right here.
What does Crisanto? So Crisanto actually sees Garcia in this.
Yes,
moment.
yes. Crisanto can see Garcia, but it's normal.
Okay. I turn
it's just
and
the forest is messing with your,
Yeah. I lower my head And then I see, I believe Garcia still has the saint pendant, Saint Acetes, the one I gave for the ritual, still on their hand. I see the symbol, and it reminds me of my shame, as it is the pendant that I carried when I was the parish priest. I hid it away from people. I replaced it with Saint Ignatius, but my true pendant when I started my first parish was Acetes. And I see that and I go, I believe I did things right. I believe I did things for the Lord, but many have died in my hands. For I believe they were of sin. For I believed they were turning to darkness and turning to the devil. I had to let them see the light in one way or the other. The fear of the hellfire, the fear of the Lord had to be instilled upon them. But it feels as if he starts beating himself up for it, as the conflict of it, knowing that the the Catholics still believe in free will. Was it really free will if he forced to see the light? Their screams. And I tell them, all I hear are their screams. Their screams. Perhaps the ghost, the devil, is taunting me now, for I have sinned and I'm not forgiven. Please give me this forgiveness. I have confessed. Tell me how many Hail Marys I have to pray. How many saints do I have to offer my life to for me to be clear of this guilt?
Okay, so Garcia, I need you to roll spirit to see if your comfort succeeds.
6.
You find yourself back. You have each other again. You're back in the forest. We got back to the church. Mass is over. People have left. Padre Dizon walks up to your pew and he says, Senor, what brings an agent of Manila to our beautiful town?
Well, mainly the bodies.
Yes, disappearances. So, you have the look of, you smell of the forest, so I assume you must have come from there. I've seen the body myself.
Body.
Well, all of them, really. I've seen all of them. What do you make of it?
I'd like to ask some questions first. And I'll give him the same rundown and see if the answers divert in any way from what the constable told me.
I'll tell you what I told the congregation. It's the devil's work. He's punishing us. He has sent an unholy demon to pick us off one by one until we are reunited in the light of God. Of course, you do believe in God, senor.
I would not be standing in the church if I did not believe in it. It's not generally how I do things.
That means you also believe in the devil.
I believe that there are 3 dead bodies, and I would like to know these answers. And I ask him the questions that I asked the constable. Are they the same, or are there any differences?
The same, pretty much. He says, then I request you bring back to Manila what you saw here. You tell them the people of San Daniel have lost faith. We need help, spiritual help. We need to bring sure these people are brought back to faith and back to obedience.
Senor, these people are dying 1 per day. Someone is actively hunting your town, and I need more information than a spiritual crisis. If you think indeed that this is the work of the devil, then give me information so that I can help the people that live here. Because right now all I see are 3 bodies and many more disappearances.
Well, if you ask the townsfolk about what you found, you will hear them talk about the victims, which I can of course summarize to you. Please know that I can only tell you what I have heard in my conversations with them, and I cannot break my vow of the confessional. Who would do that? So, the first victim we know of,
Maria Carmen.
Maria Carmen, was a friend of mine. Used to work here in the church. She would normally clean the place up, and often she and I would converse about religion and faith. I was devastated to hear of her loss. Roll insight, which is spirit.
Spirit. No.
Nothing. You don't gain anything new. The next victim was Tala. She was a quiet girl. She didn't talk to most people. She was the one people knew the least of. They say she was troubled, a little introverted, but too much if you ask me. Often kept to herself, often sat in the corner during mass. Whenever I approached her for anything, she never said a thing. And next, of course, there was Jill. Jill was a problem child, so to speak. Recently, a classmate of hers, Carmina, who was supposedly her best friend, started telling everyone that Jill had slept with a sweetheart of hers, among some other boys in town. If you ask me, she got what was coming.
I did not.
You can tell there is some spite towards these girls that the priest isn't letting off.
All of them.
All of them. Especially Maria.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Do you think any of these girls have anything in common? Something that we can look out for if there's a perpetrator out there in the woods? Something that
Yes, they were all
prefer.
sinful.
Dark hair, features.
Well, they were all around the same age. Young women, all unmarried.
How
All
many
of them-
unmarried women do we have in this village?
A few, I'd say.
You would say the round number would be how many with the disappearances?
3 women uncalled for.
So 6 so far. Would you say that you think they are connected?
Yes, either that or they ran away.
To where? This place is somewhat isolated, is it not?
Yes, but people have dreams about moving to Manila. Which is true in a lot of Philippine rural towns.
I think if he's got a suspicion about this guy, he's going to. Now, obviously, I'm looking at this from a modern point of view. I think the first thought, I'm just going to go on this on instinct, is did you have a place where you gave the rites? Was it here in church or was it in your home?
It was
Do you
here.
live in the church?
Yes, I live in the church, and the rites were done in the burial ground right next to it.
If it's all the same, would I be able to have a look around? The cemetery,
Do you
Church.
intend to exhume the corpses?
not if I don't have to.
Go ahead. Be my guest. I'll be right here cleaning up after Mass.
I'm going to look and see if there's anything in particular that might give the indication that he's hiding something. Like if there's like, oh, I'm gonna feel around for like this. Probably is my first like inspection of the. I'm thinking of like the troops and the barracks kind of thing. Like they would hide contraband. I'd like step on the floor rather hard, see if there's loose stone. I'd check around in the back area and just kind of make sure that everything's like accounted for. Context in his mind, he's looking for trophies. He's looking for anything that this guy might have kept.
All right.
Because he had
The
a
church
particular
itself-
kind of bitterness about these girls.
Oh boy. Roll for investigation. Roll mind if you got
Mind.
investigation.
Okay.
add
Now
one.
I do have a advantage in scout. Do you think that would count? in this
Yes, definitely.
case? Okay, so mind. So that's 1 extra dice because I'm proficient.
Yes.
Is that how that works? Okay.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I got a 4 and a 1. So
4 and a
mind
1.
is only 1.
Unfortunately, you do not find anything in the church.
Okay. How does destiny points work? Is that a reroll? Is that how that
No,
works?
Destiny Point lets you add a die, but you gotta declare it before you roll.
Oh, I didn't know that. Otherwise, I would have said so. Is that okay if I can just rewind?
Go
a
ahead,
tiny
roll
bit?
one more
'Cause I
die.
didn't know. I'm sorry. That's a success.
All right, you open one of the drawers near the priest's altar,
Okay.
and the priest is elsewhere. He's sweeping the floor outside. Trouble is, when you open it, you find nothing, but because you are especially perceptive, you notice a secret compartment. In it, you find a love letter that was never sent. The love letter reads, "My dear, I can no longer ignore your beauty. I have never been so tempted to break my vows till the moment I met you. As you sit there every Sunday and our eyes meet, I cannot deny that there is something between us, and there is something that I cannot ignore. Please meet me in the forest below the baleta tree if you choose to accept my feelings. We'll figure out where to go from there. It is not signed by him, and the recipient of the letter is also not named.
I understand. Would there be, if I go to his Bible, would his name be written on the front? Could I
Of
confirm
course, property of
handwriting?
Padre Dizot. Yes.
Same handwriting?
Same handwriting.
Okay.
You don't even have to roll.
I'm gonna make sure it's very, like, exactly as I found it, and then I'm gonna pocket it. And it twists his stomach a little bit, but he knows that the best thing to do right now is to, if he is the culprit, to get this information to his compatriots and prove it. So if he is responsible for these murders, then he will do it again. All we need is to find him, follow him, and watch. So I'm gonna pass that on, because who knows how dangerous this guy is. I'm gonna try and find the other two.
Okay, we cut back to the forest. Crisanto and Garcia, you're walking back, but I need both of you to roll body.
5 and 6.
5 and 6. You rolled 1, 2. Okay, Garcia trips. When you look over what Garcia tripped over, you see dried up prints of hooves. But the hooves seem like they were walking in a bipedal pattern. Okay, since we are in the middle of the second act, and I'm going to ask this to Garcia. Are the killings supernatural in nature? Or are they not? Try to incorporate as much as what you found in your answer as possible.
The horsehair, hoof prints, the amount of damage on the body, the visions, she fully believes it's supernatural.
I need you to make a mind roll. At advantage 2.
Okay, so with advantage, what do I do? Sorry.
Um,
Okay, so and I've got 2 5s and a 4, so I can re-roll the 4. Is that it? Just a 4 again.
That's fine.
I got 2
Okay.
5s, so happy about that.
You don't know why, but the moment you realize it, you hear a neighing in the distance. And it is not a normal sound. It is a shriek. This one, I'm going to have to ask Mateo.
Yes, sir.
Who do you think is responsible for the killings?
I think that this priest has a connection with this beast, and I think that they are in cahoots, or it is the result of his wrath. Either way, I think he is directly connected to it, and through some means, whether he manifests it knowingly, he becomes it. It is a result of his impure thoughts. He is the result. He is the anchor, if you will.
Okay. Well, I need you to name things you found that support this.
I noticed his venom towards the women. I noticed that everyone seemed to have a particular disdain for unmarried women. Not that that was particularly unknown. So, like, that's his influence. And the letter that he addressed and never sent. So, with all of that, I think that it's more likely that he didn't mean to do what he's done. But he is the speaker of ideas. He is the one that sets the tone. And the tone seems to be bugger them. They were unmarried women that likely were just growing up, and that was enough for them to have wrath on them, which historically speaking is true.
Okay. I need you to roll mind
Okay,
advantage 1.
1 success.
1 success. Right as you read the letter, your head is turned away from the entrance. You hear the clicking of a gun, and we move into Act 3.
Dun dun dun.
We're in the interlude. So I'm going to ask all three of you, and please be sure to make it short. But if you'd like one additional scene, in the case of Mateo, I'm sorry, it's going to have to be a flashback. If you want one. Okay, first I'm going to start with Crisanto. Do you want an additional scene with Crisanto, either to further his story or to hit any more of his milestones?
I would say I think I already hit 3 milestones. I definitely would like
You
if
can
I
hit
have
a
an
fourth if you
additional
want.
scene
Yes.
to be tied to Garcia's, because I think they were saying something and they saw that I was Mateo, so I would be the one hearing whatever it is they were planning to say. So that would be my
Okay,
additional scene.
Mateo is in the woods on his knees. Garcia is holding his hands. Or rather, Crisanto as Mateo is on his knees.
Yeah.
With Garcia holding his hands. And Garcia, it's up to you. What do you do?
Brother, I will be okay after this. It'll get better. I promise. I know it's a lot right now, and no, I don't regret any of it. I can't fall into that spiral. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the real Mateo wasn't here
I heard
to
it
hear
all.
that.
Mm.
But you have reconciled with him in your heart. At least in your heart, you know he's still your brother. Okay? Garcia, are there any flashbacks you'd like to have before everything goes to shit? Just think about that. I'm going to ask Mateo first. Mateo, are there any flashbacks you'd like of Mateo before we move into the third act?
Possibly, but
Yes.
if it's okay, I would like to determine something first.
Of course.
One of the things I would like to try and do is I think he would feel if someone's about to 1, walk in on him, and 2, draw on him. And I would
Of
like
course.
to Wild West try and pull it out first.
Roll a body.
Okay. Now shooting is what I do, so I'm gonna give myself an extra die.
Of
what
course,
I
yes.
think.
That is definitely shooting.
Okay. 2 6s.
Crit. Not only do you succeed, I'm going to ask you, would you also like to shoot? And
I
if
would
you
like
do,
to. What I would like to do is, as I shoot, I would like to activate my roll, please, because that was my 3rd milestone. To
Hold
beat
on.
someone to a shootout.
hold on.
Holding.
We're not yet in the third act.
Are we
It's
not?
an interlude. No. It's the interlude.
In the interest of this, I think I'd like to keep to that though, because there's a reason for it.
All right,
Because this makes sense to me if I'm right.
Garcia.
Okay, so we're going to pause on the guns flipping around. Then it's the Act 3. That's where it starts?
Yes,
Okay, I understand.
Garcia. Are there any flashbacks you'd like to play before everything goes to shit? And things will go to shit. A gun has been fired.
Yeah, possibly.
I definitely think after that whole vision, all that fear, guilt, and pain, she thinks back on that really tough day, but she thinks back on cooking with her brother, bandaged up, a bruised arm, but she's standing there, happy that she's with her brother as they're just cooking. that moment just washes away everything else for a few seconds, and despite the pain she is physically feeling in that memory, she's okay. She's happy.
When all this is done, you go home. You go home, and maybe things will be better. Maybe you'll be a family again. Fine, your parents died in the revolution, but you know what? You still have your brother. Okay. Act 3. Mateo, are you still going to activate your role?
I think so.
All right. Act 3 begins. Mateo activates his role.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone want to contest?
Yes.
In this case, what does that mean?
All right. When you contest a role activation, it means that you've also hit your maximum number of milestones, and you'd like a chance
Okay.
to be the one to activate the role. Are you contesting?
Can you confirm I've done that?
Yes, you
I've
have.
sent you the thing.
Yes,
Then
you have.
I contest.
All right, Denma, would you like to
contest.
contest?
Yes.
All right,
Contesting.
all right. Everyone roll dice the same
Mhm.
amount as the number of milestones that you've hit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Jack total?
9.
9. Denma total.
So it's added
Do we
up.
total it?
Yeah,
It's added up.
13.
13 for Denma. Vixen total.
15.
Okay, Garcia. You are going to die.
Fucking knew it.
I am.
Bullet rings out from the church. Rosario and Garcia hear it.
I scream out Mateo because I knew
You
he
rush
was there.
towards the church. Mateo, the smoking gun is in your hands. Where do you shoot the priest?
I don't think I would have had time to send a mass right above the right nipple.
Right above the right nipple. He falls backwards. He turns to you and he says,
I don't give him time to speak. I'm gonna rush right
Goddamn.
over to him and grab him by the neck.
all right, you grab him by the neck and he says, you bloody hypocrite.
Confess what you've done.
Turns to you and he says, not until you do.
Can I make a body check, please?
Yes, body check.
2 successes.
2 successes.
Teeth roll out, I assume.
His teeth roll out. He looks at you. We go back to before you guys arrived. You see Padre Dizon talking to the mayor. You see him reading your files. And he sees you, and he sees the eyes of a sinner, a killer. And he thinks to himself, he's no better than me. He reaches into his pocket, and he takes out a silver strand of horsehair. Denma, can you please tell these two what that means?
My brain actually is too tense right now that I'm just going, unicorn hair! No, but I don't think it is.
Totally.
No, but okay. The
A
silver
unicorn
strand of
Tikbalang.
horsehair.
I need to see that.
Yeah, we
Actually,
have
no,
it.
sorry. It's a gold strand. It's a gold strand of horsehair.
Okay.
Sorry, I got it mixed up with the unicorn.
That clears it up.
Similar myth.
Spinning gold.
Very similar myth. The gold hair, if you are able to pull it off the mane of the Tikbalang, allows you to control it. And immediately, as this happens, the priest sees his body slowly transform. And it's almost very body horror in the way that his ears elongate. You can tell his ears elongate. The entire front of his face begins to move out as these sharp, jagged teeth come out as he begins to knock you back, smashing you
Sure.
against the altar. And as this happens, everything, like the wind blows, just the shockwave of this magical transformation causes a lot of the candles to go out as this dark figure, illuminated from the bottom because of the candles. Like, you know how you put a flashlight under you and it makes you look just a little bit eerier? That's what it looks like. And the priest says, I only come for judgment. I only judge people's sins. And as he says this, everyone you've ever killed, all the rebels, all the heretics that you've been forced to execute, enter your vision. I need you to make a spirit check, Mateo.
I'm shaking so much.
You fail. And as that happens, the graveyard begins to fill as the screams of the dead begin to fill the air. As you look at the windows of the stained glass windows of the church, they weren't stained glass before, but now they are. You can see the chronicles of your crimes as the dead begin to scratch onto the windows, and it's the hands and the eyes and the faces of everyone that you've had to kill. Everyone that you've had to kill to survive. Everyone that you've had to... All the lives you've had to destroy just to keep your position, just to keep the bullies away from your sister. Because you're not going to have her be treated like a second-class citizen anymore. And as that happens, you enter the room, Garcia. You see the Tikbalang looming over him. The gun is right next to the altar. What do you do?
Run for the gun.
You run for the gun. The gun is yours.
I run. I aim it towards this monstrosity that looms over my brother. You cannot have him. And I fire it.
I think
You fire the gun.
all throughout he'd be trying to get up, but like he's literally frothing like a poisoned dog, just kind of
Yeah.
just can't physically
You
get up.
cannot have him.
The horse's lightning fast reflexes have his head turned to you immediately right before the bullet hits it, and he pounces Garcia. You drop the gun, and the horse knocks Garcia into the wall. Mateo, the gun slides to you,
Where's my sister?
pinned against the wall as the horse begins to basically go savage on her.
Nah, all logic would have flown out the window at this point, so he would like limp over and try to beat it with the butt. Just kind of that's logically where I think he'd be at this point. He's like barely standing, his left leg like wobbles underneath his weight. He's foaming at the mouth, and he's just like trying to ignore what's happening around him, and he just goes, "Stop!" trying to do something.
Crisanto, I need you to roll spirit.
Okay.
Because I know you're gonna start praying, so I need you to roll spirit
Can I
to see
add
if
my
anything
religious
happens.
rituals for this?
Yes, you can.
What?
You just got
Jesus,
red.
No, I only have 4, 1, and 3. But I did do one of the things in my archetypes, which says, hold on. I saw a symbol that reminds me of my shame, which I would say, with my destiny point, I could still see like Garcia's still holding on to that. And once
Yes,
per
she is.
game, if I see the symbol, I will surge this roll. What does surge mean again?
Surge means you get to add the dice of another ability, so add 2 dice to it.
Okay.
Roll.
God damn it! I only got 1 and 2. I tried.
You tried. All right, Mateo, I need you to roll body. How strong are you?
Let me see. I mean, given that this is like particularly important to him, I think he would try and surge now as well. Technically, he'd be presenting his papers, but he'd just be, I think it's more his identity. Like, he is nothing without his twin. Like, that to him, like, that to me sounds like it's more important than the papers, if that makes sense to you? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, nothing. 2 2 1 2 2 2 2 1 rather. Hang on. Sorry. Papers. Surge means an extra die. I've forgotten.
Yes. No.
Yeah.
You get to add another skill to it. You
Another
had.
skill?
Yeah. So, for example, you're rolling body. You get to add like
Mind or
mind to it, which is 2.
Okay. Well, then the same result because I've got 1 and everything else. So I roll 4 dice.
Hold on.
I'm
How come
sorry.
you only have 5?
Huh? 3 4. Oh, you're right. Yeah, I'm just bad at math. That's what that is.
Yeah. Roll another die.
Literally thought 3 1 1. That looks right. No. 3.
No.
Yeah.
The horse turns to you and bashes you up against the wall. Okay. You've got one last chance. Garcia, you're holding the saint in your hands. You haven't been able to do the ritual properly. You haven't been able to, invoke. You haven't been able to invoke religion so much. But so far, if you could ask the saint to give you one wish, what would it be? If you could ask for one thing from the saint.
Protect my brother.
Right as that happens, the horse smashes Mateo into the ground. The ground shakes, and just as he's about to pound his face in to make him look exactly like that corpse before, the crucifix on the wall breaks. And the cross is about to fall on the monster. He attempts to get away, but because of the one bullet hole here, where he was shot by Mateo, and the one bullet hole in his tendon, which was shot by Garcia, both twins stop him from moving away as he is crushed by the cross. The church is quiet. Mateo, I guess you rush over to see if your sister is all right.
I think we're right next to each other, aren't we? So I'd probably be
Yeah.
crawling over the body. Yeah.
Garcia, if you could say one last thing to your brother, what would it be?
Have me beside you always.
No, 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 no.
And the camera just zooms in on the both of them with Crisanto probably doing the sign of the cross as Garcia passes away. And that's how the story ends.
Oh my god. No. No.
Okay, this isn't the end yet. Okay, Vixen, your character died. Your character has no future. But you get to narrate the epilogue. So give us just a short explanation. What happens to Mateo and Crisanto?
Wow, pressure.
It's all right.
I think
We can work together with you if you need it.
Yeah.
Just let us know.
Yes, we're happy to help.
so. Is it like the immediate after, or like in the future after?
The future. You can even like say
future.
10 years in the future, this is where they are. You have creative freedom on how you write the epilogue.
I feel for Crisanto. The words that were not meant for him stayed with him. And he was able to find where faith belongs with him, no longer controlled by it or by that past. Is more willing to listen to stories outside of what he knows and what he truly believes. And every now and then he feels like Garcia is there with him, because even though those words were not meant for him, they stuck. They really stuck. Mateo couldn't move on for a long time. He felt on top of everything he had done to protect Garcia, he feels this guilt. He blames himself, but a few years down the line, he finds her bracelet again after hiding it away. He didn't want to leave it with her because he felt like that connection would be torn. But he hid it away for a while. He found it again and realized that it wasn't just him protecting her. She also protected him. And while that memory that she had isn't as prominent for Mateo, I think every now and then when he cooks, he remembers her even stronger than he does every second of his life. Those moments, she is there. And I feel he definitely found that old doll because she never got rid of it. She never got rid of that doll that was destroyed because it was important to her. And she used it to remember Mateo protecting her and being a shoulder to cry on. And while those times passed, long before she passed away, she held that memory and Mateo learnt to hold it to.
Is there anything you want to add, Jack?
Yeah, just one little shot in this little cinematic, which is the doll. It's clearly years later, and he gets out the doll, and he's got a lined face and grey in his hair, and he sees the doll for the first time in years. It's dusty. He blows it off, and then it's just a close-up of his hand as he passes it down, down, down into a tiny hand. Grips it.
And as this happens, we see the credits roll. Some Ben and Ben playing over the credits.
Good.
Yeah, Denma will get that joke. Probably Akin Sinta plays over the credits. It's
I
always
can
a Ben
hear
and
it.
Ben song. Sorry, it's a Filipino movie trope. And you see Mateo once again sitting in that chair, and a flag is flying over his head. And it's not the flag of Spain. It's the red, white, and blue of the revolution.
You see that? You see that? Right there. Mm-hmm. Got his little daughter in his arms. Yeah, right there. Yes.
Because, fine, the world he was forced to grow up in sucked. But things always change. There is always hope, and we always pass that hope down. Because we do get our independence at some point. Anyway, that's the game. That's One of Us Will Die. As promised, one of you died. How was it? You guys all right?
Yeah.
I'm emotionally
we'll have a
wrecked,
debrief
but I'm
after
happy.
recording if we need to, but I'm very, very pleased with that. That was a really, really fun experience.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you two appreciated it still. I was always, I was always worried that Wrath of the Tikbalang was a Filipino exclusive scenario where you had to be Filipino to enjoy it. But no, it seems that it seems to touch people across the board.
I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of folklore and mythology, regardless
Sure.
of where it's from.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different world when you step into those stories.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So with that, we're going to say goodbye. Vixen, thank you very much for playing with us. You can find
Thank
Vixen
you.
on my channel, Jack Squarepeg, and on all the other things. You can find her on Turquoise Vixen. Is there anything you want to add, Vixen, in terms of projects and things you're working on at the moment?
At the moment, don't look for me, but I do hope to start streaming myself in the future.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Titus, where can we find your book? Where can we find the game?
You can find it on itch.
Amazing.
Just Google the game and you can find it. I'm lucky enough to have a title that you can Google and it's gonna be the first thing you see.
Branding, baby.
Brand name. Also, if you ever want to have me back, just talk about the game and the inspirations behind it.
I think
The
that's in
scenario
the
you
cards.
played is the number
Yeah.
one most popular scenario of the book.
Yay.
I think it's mostly for the mythological background and the character-centric story that it tells. Because there's something about this little fictional town that seems to really get to people.
Yeah.
Your story was so different from the story that other people told. You never met the mayor, you never met Mr. Lopez, you never got to have Lambanog in Alingreta's Sari Sari store. But it's a very popular scenario and it seems to resonate with a lot of people.
Absolutely. So look up One of Us Will Die. By the time this episode comes out, you may well be able to find it somewhere on print. We look forward to having it our own selves. We'll likely be having a conversation with Titus in the near future. But for now, I have been Jack Squarepeg.
And this has been Mother.
Thank you very much for watching. Take care, everybody. If you like the show and would like to show your support, Denma and Jack would be glad to have it. Check out the description for more details.